Ever felt confused about the difference between page rendering and page processing in Oracle Apex? Let's make it simple using a restaurant metaphor. Page rendering is like the kitchen preparing, cooking, and arranging the food on a plate before the waiter brings it to your table. And page processing is what happens after you eat. You pay the bill, and the restaurant updates its inventory and bank account. Welcome back to Learn Orbit Tech Academy. Today, we are diving straight into the core life cycles of Oracle Apex, page processing, and page rendering. If you want to learn how to build an Apex app in just 10 minutes, check out our previous video linked in the description below. If you find our content helpful, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss a topic and can keep building your development skills. Let's get started. An Apex page runs on a simple two-step cycle. First, page rendering, also known as the show page phase. This handles showing the page to the user, running computations, and generating the HTML. Second, page processing or the accept page phase. This triggers when a page is submitted. It handles session state updates, data validation, DML database changes, and branching to the next page. Let's start with page rendering. This executes whenever you request a page via a URL, a redirect, or a navigation link. Its main goal is to assemble database data into clean HTML for your browser. Rendering happens in three main stages: pre rendering, regions, and post rendering. Pre rendering handles anything that needs to be calculated before a single element is drawn on the screen. Before header runs initial computation, clears session states, or checks security like verifying if the logged in user is a clerk or someone else. After header executes background processes right after the page header structure has loaded. Next is the regions section, where the Apex engine loops through and evaluates all the visual elements. Before regions fires layout configuration just before showing elements like text box, buttons, and labels. Render regions queries your tables to dynamically build forms, charts, interactive grids, and reports. After region wraps up the visual container code. Finally, post rendering closes out the page layout. Within the post rendering, before footer executes late stage script or logging, and after footer officially finishes compiling the HTML document for the browser. Let's deep dive into page processing. This accept page process triggers the moment a user clicks a button like save or submit. Apex executes these components sequentially based on their sequence numbers. First of all, submit. The browser sends the form values and Apex immediately updates the session state cache. Next is computations. This calculates or reformats specific item values like setting a default timestamp. Validation checks your business rules. If a validation fails, processing stops instantly, rolls back any uncommitted changes, and send the user back to the rendering phase to display error alerts. Processes happens if validations pass. The main transactional work executes here. This is where automatic row processing or custom PL SQL blocks run to update the database. And finally, branches determines where to send the user next, either directing back to the same page to refresh the data or moving to a brand new page. To visualize how these two phases interact, let's look at their key differences side by side. Primary trigger of the page rendering is when the page URL is hit or navigation is performed or redirects are done. while page processing is triggered when the button is clicked or form is submitted. Main goal of page rendering is to build and display the UI, and main goal of page processing is to process the data and run the logic. The data flows like in page rendering, the data from the database is shown on the browser, while for page processing, the data from the browser is submitted to the database. And key actions of page rendering are component initialization and data fetching, while key actions of page processing are computation, validations, and DML that writes into the database. Let's bring back our restaurant to see this life cycle in action. Imagine the chef is the backend Oracle database, the waiter is the Apex engine, and the customer is the web browser. Phase 1 is page rendering. The customer comes, the host greets the customer. Before handing anything to the customer, they check the reservation status in the system. This is checking the session state, and it is done before header. While rendering the regions, the waiter brings a beautiful menu card neatly laid out with an appetizers section, a main section, and a dessert section. And after footer, which is post rendering, the waiter hands you a pen, places a napkin on your lap, and sets back. The menu is now fully visible and ready for you, just like a fully loaded page in the web browser. The processing phase, the accept page phase, you check the boxes on the menu to customize your burger and place the order. You hand the menu back to the waiter. The waiter instantly notes down your choice. And this is the session state update. Now the waiter notices you checked make it a combo, but left the drink section blank. They automatically add Coca Cola based on restaurant's default rule, and that computation works here. Then the waiter reviews the order, notices you asked for a vegan burger, but you also ticked extra bacon. This triggers a validation error. The waiter stops and says, "Sir, this is an invalid combination." Hand the menu back, ask you to fix it, which renders the page again. Once you fix it and submit, the order passes the checkpoints and now the process begins. Waiter takes the valid order to the chef cooks the burger, you eat and you pay your bill. This updates the kitchen inventory and charges your card, simulating DML database processing. Finally, we hit the branch. Now, meal is done and is paid for. You leave the restaurant and head home, transitioning to a brand new location. Let's check how this works in our live application demo. So, here in our page definition, we have created a process before header info within the pre rendering. And before header info has a PL SQL code which is apexdebug.info. Apexdebug is the package having info procedure where we can write a login details like this we have written here. This will be printed in the console, that is debug mode. Here we have created after header info and before region info. Next we have created items within the body region, that is customer name, diet type, having values vegan and others, and add bacon. This is a checkbox, yes or no, with the value yes or no. Now we go into processing section. Before that, we need to create table restaurant orders. I have already created order ID, customer name, diet type, add bacon, order status, created add columns. We have a restaurant sequence also created. We will use it for the our order ID column. Here in the processing, we have created validation. This is processing section. This is rendering section. In the processing section, we have created a validation, ensure vegan. With the type function body returning error text, you can use any of these and try it out. Next is we have added a PLC equal function body. If type is vegan and it is yes, bacon, add bacon is yes, then return the error message, fail the validation, or else pass it and return null. We don't need any error message if validation is true. Here we have used inline with field and notification type to display the error field associated with the add bacon checkbox. If checkbox is tick, it must be execute this validation. Next is process submit order. Here we have inserted data in the PLC equal region. We have added success message also, that is ordered successfully. If the validation has passed and process is executed, our message will be printed. Here button also added order food, and our processing process submit order is associated with that button. We have selected it when button is pressed order food. When we will click order food, this particular process will be executed. Now let's check in the runtime. Log into your work application. Now first of all, I will check our before header, after, before region, that is pre-rendering messages. We have to see path info show here and click on the link there. Search for restaurant, as we have written a restaurant text within our procedure. Here before header info is executed. After before header, we will check further. Now here after header info is also executed. So our basic HTML structure layout has loaded at this point of time. Table is ready. Then before region info has executed, laying out silverware and grid spaces, and then our items are actually displayed or rendered. Page region restaurant having the items P1 customer name, diet type, add bacon. So all these items are rendered after the before pre-rendering sections have already printed and executed. Now let's move on with the GUI. Let's say we write our customer name, James Matthew. We will select diet type as vegan and tick the add bacon. And when we click on the order food, our validation has executed. Dietary conflict, you cannot add real bacon to a vegan meal. So now if we untick it, our validation will should pass, because with vegan we cannot have a bacon. Now unticking add bacon, ordering food, our data has inserted successfully. So ordered successfully message has shown. Now the checklist is the data validation acts as a checkpoint guard, kicking the user back to the rendering phase. Here our data has inserted. So we have only one row. We have tried twice. One was with error, another is without error. And the page process safely commits data to database only after all checkpoints are clean. So these are the two checklists we must keep in mind. I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyed watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I will help you out. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.